Hey, Bottleneck, what's up, brother? Happy Sunday. Yeah, it was a pretty good Sunday today, man. Had a good time. Took the kids riding again to get them ready for the first race. It was a good day. Yeah, it was a pretty productive day. Unfortunately, Agent Zero rode the absolute hell out of his four-wheeler. So now I got to tear it down and get it prepped and do some repairs. Hey, Nord. Rule number one, be civil. That's right. Hold on, did I think I need to update the chat rules over on the YouTube side, because rule number one should be don't hack the stream. Rule number two should be everyone in chat is a fed. And rule number three is don't talk about anything illegal. See rule number two. Too late, already hacked the whole planet. I know, right? Yeah, Bottleneck. The stream goes out on Kick in YouTube and Twitch. And I'll probably see about adding X onto there also. For some reason, tech focused streams do really well on X, so I'd be kind of dumb not to add it in. All right, let's kick it off tonight. You know what? I wonder if the desktop's actually going to work. No, it captured the wrong screen with all the other crap on there. Hang on. It always does that when I put the computer to sleep. Stand by. Let's see. Video bandwidth. Where's the... Damn it, where's the button to change it? The problem is, it's capturing a vertical monitor. So you see like the mouse up here, it's All of that is everything just happened over there. I don't know why it's doing that. Hang on, I know how to fix this. We'll just do that. We just had to restart the program. But yeah, happy Sunday, everyone. I hope y'all had a really good day today. I had a wonderful one. I took the kids. There we go. Took the kids out to go four-wheel riding again. Unfortunately, only 2 of the kids got to come out. So, but it was a good time though. Dude, I cannot believe how fast Agent Zero's going. And he's starting to finally like start jumping a bit on the motocross track. And oh my god. I'm pretty sure my sleep tracker was tracking it as stress time. Just ask Claude. I ask Claude actually quite a bit sometimes. Believe it or not, actually, I was testing, because I always like to go tinker with the different AI models and kind of see what they come up with. And I have Grok on my phone, so I tested it. I wanted to double check a few things on what it could tell me about some of the stuff on Agent Zero's ATV. So as a test, I was like, okay, wait, what is this? And I sent it a picture of a starter gear. So the way this works is there's a gear that sits here, and as you do the kickstart, it actually extends out and grabs this other gear and then flips it and rotates it. And it actually identified it properly. And then as I gave it a little bit more detail, it did a really good job of searching. So yeah, you can post a link. All right, I think last night, let me close that, don't need it anymore. So what we were looking at is, unfortunately, because we changed the way some of the variables were being handled, it's trying to append information about the target host for the language model call, and it was jacked up. So now, I believe it's down here. Yeah, this is the line we were looking at. I need to go adjust this. Oh, it's something you were building with Claude? Yeah, man, go ahead and drop it. I actually have not done a ton of programming with Claude. I've been having it do other stuff. I've been having Claude Code go through and build agents to help actually handling some stuff with workflows at work for my day job. And it's actually been working pretty good. Oh, posted but got zapped. Let me see if I can check it real quick. There should be. Stand by. Let me see if I can see it real quick, if I can drop it out of the mod queue. I don't know if I can. Oh, there's the guidelines. Yeah, we can change that. Don't hack the stream. Here. I'm gonna update this right now. Everyone in chat is a Fed. Don't talk about illegal activity. See rule number 2. There you go. I'm gonna update that right now. Save. I thought that was you, man. Because I recognized your image there. Hang on. Let me go pull it up real quick. Let's see if I can pull it up real fast here. Oh, that's pretty cool. Is this... So you built this? Hold on, let me pull it up in a different browser. No, it actually loaded up really fast. It loaded so fast, I didn't actually know what I was seeing for a second. Oh, hang on. I didn't like the link. Hang on. There we go. That's pretty cool. Hey. The zoom is a little funky. There we go. Cool. Hold on. I don't know if the audio is coming through. One sec. Let me double check. Here, let me pause the background music. This is pretty neat. So you made this kind of interface for it?
Going to cover at a high level how to think about augmenting yourself with AI, as well as some tactical examples and demos from some really cool stuff Daniel has built. And then the second part is basically open Q&A. So ask Daniel and I anything you want. So just sort of open discussion. A little bit about Daniel.
I'll try to get
He's
this
a long-time great friend of mine. So I'm a huge fan of him as a person as well as his work.
Cool.
He runs unsupervised.
I actually am. I've been meaning to tinker with PAI so much more. Custom video player in Google Drive and chat app. Nice. First name. Blaise. Glory. This is legit. There we go. I've sent my message. That's awesome. That's cool. So you made all this with Claude Code? I gusto. That's pretty cool, man. Peaches, you better not be needing to go outside right now. Oh, you just checking on me? All right. My dog, she always feels like the first time she comes up that she needs to go outside as soon as I turn the stream on. Just like a woman. Start having a good time. She's like, I need attention right now. That's awesome, man. Like I said, I haven't been using Claude to do a ton of programming. I've actually been using it to do some more workflow management, trying to make my life at my job easier. Stuff like that. For my programming, mostly been just doing it by hand. I have it do a little bit more. So one of the fun things we did last night, found out that the state table was getting polluted in here. So we had Claude actually come through and basically verify a couple things. Like, hey, let me bring this up here. Yeah, so like here was a commit it was doing to say, hey, these are areas we need to go change these mutations to the state table because they were direct mutations instead of return value mutations. So, oh, can you? Hang on, I closed it. Let me open it back up. Filter. Unread. I don't know where I had mine in here. Green test. I mean, still awesome. Aw, Circles loves you. That's great. That's pretty cool, though. I am liking Claude Code more and more. I want to start tinkering with some of the alternatives to it. So it's got custom tagging logic for the people and the stuff. So I'm actually floored by how much stuff I put into it this in 1 week. Dude, you did the chat feature in just a week? That's sick. Thank you. Sock brought me my water because she loves me. All right, let's go. Let me check this real quick. I think the problem here was output host actually got... I know what happened here. Target host was We got a stub host. Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. This should have worked, though. Let me think about this. So we extract the IP from the task. We create a new stub host. Basically, because what it was saying is it was checking to see if input host is not none. All right, so what was input host? Oh, yeah, so input host actually went through and it checked to see, did we already have this host tracked by IP address? Otherwise, become a none. So it comes in right. Yeah. Oh, is that? I think I see the problem here. No, here's output host. So, oh, this happened in the enum agent. We should have already had this agent tracked. So that's what happened. Okay, so it's actually not in this section of code. This was for something different, which the enumeration agent should never come. We really don't need this code block. It's just in there for extra security because it should never come across basically an untracked host once it gets to enumeration. The recon agent should be the only one that has to deal with that, but it's fine. Yeah. Hey, Sorcerer, what's up, man? Dude, I think the work you did on that in a week I think it's really cool. Yeah, so this is HackBot. HackBot's job is to go play things like Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, and been having a great time working on it. Just about done with. We're doing a little bit of code cleanup because what was happening is here in one of the agents. So like this one's Stinger. Let me rearrange this. So recon should be right about here. All right. Ignore this handoff one. We don't actually need it. But what happens is it takes the user input, processes it. Stinger here is the actual supervisor. And then we've got a recon and enumeration and exploits workflow in here. And so these guys have particular jobs. Recon and enumeration are they're pretty much identical to one another. But then exploit actually goes through and does some really fun stuff. It goes through and does its exploit to try and get basically initial access exploit to it. And then we're going to start working on a fourth agent over here called primary or post exploitation. Haven't put anything for reverse engineering challenges yet. I don't know exactly how I'm going to put those in just yet. But I do want to give it that ability later. I'm thinking probably maybe hook it up to Binary Ninja with MCP or just Ghidra with MCP. I haven't decided yet. I actually have a couple of coworkers that are working on something along those same lines. So, yeah, Cypher, that's what I was thinking was the Ghidra, or as I like to call it, Gahydra. Hail Gahydra. That MCP. And go through it with that. Really, honestly, HackBot's job was to become a learning platform for myself because as I went through and I learned new things, I wanted to use that as an excuse to code special agents for this. So I've been wanting to personally dig more into reverse engineering. That's just not something I've had to do a ton, at least not real deep reverse engineering. Going through something like, Python or PHP code, that's not even really reverse engineering. That's just kind of getting the code out and doing code analysis. But actually going through and like bringing out binaries and bringing them back, that's something I've been very, very interested in. So as I go through and learn those, it would be a place to like go build a specialty agent for that. That may just be a subset of the exploitation agent. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Or even just, actually, come to think of it, that might just even be a subset of the enumeration agent. I don't know. I'll have to think about it, because these are very specialized. Recon is very specialized to network and web. So is enum. Exploitation is a little bit freeform. Might be able to put something for reverse engineering in there. That might even be another primary agent. I haven't decided yet. So long story short, Nord, I want to do more stuff with reverse engineering in here once that comes up to do those reverse engineering challenges. I just haven't gotten that far yet. We're doing the most simple of simple boxes over on TryHackMe called RootMe. It is a real simple PHP upload a PHP shell with a very simple bypass, and then your privilege escalation is a SUID Python binary. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I just realized, I think, what the issue is here, though, and that is output host. So I thought I knew what the issue was. It doesn't actually have to do anything with this branch. I think it was just proximity that was throwing me off. What's happening here is output host is actually not being defined properly up. Yeah. So I think what I need to do, let me double check what we got the enum agent doing. So we have it force punt back to Stinger if it's not properly assigned. If for some reason it's not being tracked properly, we're going to kick this back up to Stinger. That's no problem. And then that's our current task. I think what I want to do is, I think I'll just want to take this and move it outside the scope. We already have target IP defined here. Okay, yeah, you need to go away. And I believe it's already defined right here. So yeah, you're going to go away as well. I'm going to take those out. And then the output host is now going to be defined as that. So where is... Yeah, I defined output host, but I never set it before it hit one of the execution branches. I can use this. Yeah, I can use this. So here's output host. And in fact, we can even do a dynamic set for this one. We can say, just like we did down here. And in fact, this is the one we can use right here. Oh man, all of these are like way out of order. That's all right. So what we'll do is we'll modify this. We'll say if the state host target IP, where's target IP? Oh, it's down here. I tell you, we're not using this before this, so I'm gonna shunt this down here. I tried to keep these in pairs up here for tracking the inputs and outputs, but output host has not actually been used. So yeah, so this should go to the host table, go by target IP from the task, if it's in there. Otherwise, it will come up as a none. Okay. And then what we can do actually is we can use this now, because we have this check down right about here. Where is that? Let me see. Where did I have that? Oh, actually here. It's if input host is none. There we go. Oh, this is if input host is not none. There we go. Which it should be not none. Let me think about this. I want to make sure I put this in the... I could leave it here. It would technically work, but it kind of doesn't flow with the spirit of this. And in fact, come to think of that... Oh, yeah, this is not going to actually work perfectly because this needs to be a deep copy right here. So that we don't do an indirect memory reference back to the state table, which is what got us into this freaking business in the first place. Also, in case I didn't say it, what's up, Sorcerer? Sorry, I saw your message just a second ago. Latest Gemini is pretty much much better. You know what? Actually, one of the guys in the chat hooked me up with a 3-month Gemini Pro license, so I have been tinkering with it just a tiny bit. I haven't really dug down into it. Yeah, I agree. I've been having a lot of success with Claude Code, but actually, as a daily driver, Grok has actually been doing really good. Surprisingly good. I think it's much better. I don't know if the model's any better, but I think its agentic structure is better and how it's going through and working on stuff. Because it's really fast too, except whenever everybody is spazzing out going, put a damn bikini on it, and it's causing it to get overloaded. Ugh. There's always going to be a result in the recon for that box, right? There should be, and that's what I was saying. Like, there should be. Only time I can think of something, Nord, and here's why. I know it shouldn't, but if we take a look at how the supervisor is going to work here, in theory, there could be something that Stinger can discover on recon. They should say, hey, we know that box exists now. Let's go enumerate it. So, hey, Andre. Andre, nice. Nice. Thanks for coming online, brother. Happy Sunday. So there is a theory. Let's say, for example, we do a bunch of recon over on host A, and host A has a bunch of links in some way over to host B. Then we know that there is going to be a host B. In theory, we'd expect Stinger. Right now, Stinger doesn't have any functionality to it. It's dumb. But once we go add the intelligence to Stinger, and it can start initializing its own task, and we're not breadcrumbing it, then I'd expect Stinger to recon and then enumeration on it. But I want to kind of give it that ability to be a little bit flexible in there. Oh, that was about the reverse engineering. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Gemini's actually been one of my favorites for the Maldev and challenges. Oh, okay. I still have the Maldev Academy on my to-do list. So I need to get on that. Actually, I do want to do the Maldev Academy, but I've actually got a couple others on my to-do list. I got an Azure, an AWS, and Maldev Academy kind of on the forefront of where I'm working with right now. But honestly, there's not a lot of folks at my company that are really going hard on AI like I am. Some of them are tinkering with it and messing with it, but nobody's really going, I think, quite as hard as I am on it. So I might just kind of stick to that route, getting in and busting it and breaking it. I'm actually signed up for Jason Haddock's attacking AI course in March. Dude, the Maldev Academy, of what little bit I went through, it was sick. I really liked it. And one of my guys on my team just finished it, and he really enjoyed it too. So, but that was the idea, actually, one of the things behind HackBot here. So let me pull up the exploitation agent, because it has it implemented. I haven't backported this over to the recon or enumeration agents. But once this guy down here, this is the exploitation loop, right? So the job comes in, or the task comes into the exploit agent. It says, okay, hey, the target host doesn't have an initial access exploit, or eventually we'll have to update that logic to say a C2 connection. But once we have that, then it comes down to the planner. And then once the planner kind of says, okay, here's what we need to do roughly, here's the steps to perform this exploit, it starts running through this error correction and assessment loop as it's going through here. Once that's all done, or one of the two things it can call is, it can either call tools directly, so whatever function we've got defined, or it can actually invoke a special agent. And the special agent is going to be a defined API where those specialty language model agents, however you want to build them, can go in and they can execute things. So we only currently have basically one special agent, and that's a web browser. So it goes through and it provides a full MCP playwright web browser for it to use, which is going to be super handy in a lot of the CTF challenges, because probably 99% of them start with an initial exploit of a web, like some kind of web vector. I think I only got through like lesson 20. And they've added, I think I picked up the course when they had update 4 out, and now they're like up to update 18. So yeah, those guys just keep cranking it out. The lifetime license or the lifetime subscription was absolutely worth it. So, but yeah, like I said, the whole idea was, as I go through and I learn new things, to basically crank out special agents as a way to reinforce what I'm learning, right? So the typical learning loop that I like to do is I go through and I learn it academically. I look at it and I say, okay, kind of this is how it should be doing. And then I learn at it by doing it and tinkering with it. And then I learn at it by building something with it. And so that's what this whole special agent system was for. Yeah, Mr. Docs is pretty cool. I couldn't believe Spider, I think at the time when he released Havoc, he was like 19. So he's got to be barely able to drink now. I was like, damn, I was not that well put together at 19. That's one sharp dude. All right, so what I need to figure out here is if this is where I actually want to put this output host here. This is if it's new. This is if it's not new. So this is if it's a working task. Actually, I think this is one of the flaws here is that, yeah, this should work just fine. How do I want to do this? Actually, I take it back. So what should happen here is, let me think about this. So this is, I have a valid task set at this point. All right, let me take this out. So this is working on a new, let me see. Working on a task with, oh, come on. Task with a new status. I screwed that up. And then let me come down here to the else statement right here. So I make sure I remember exactly what I'm doing. So this will be if it's a working status right here. Because if it's new, we have the potential for it not to exist. So this is for the task we're checking. Has it already been pre-flighted? Host is already being tracked. So if the input host is not none. Okay. I think actually what I want to do is take this data, and I am going to leave that as none for now. So it's none if it's a new task, and take that out. I got a typo there. So if it's a new task and we're currently, if the host is already being tracked, this is what we do. Yeah, so here we send it over to the validator. That's fine. And so the other option is, if it's not being tracked, then we go set up our output host. Yes. So there's our output host. Let me think about this. In this case, if it's working, I see. So this is actually, I see. Yeah, I'm an idiot. This should have been our input host right here. There we go. And the reason for this is because we have to think about what's the flow here. So this case, it said, hey, we're working on a new status task. So if it's new, we don't necessarily know if it's going to be doing this. Oh, let me think about this. This was so much easier when I was just polluting the state table, damn it. I don't know where he's from, Nord. I'm not sure if where Spider's located at. I just knew roughly what his age was. Hella smart guy though. Dude, I'll tell you something funny. So y'all know I'm good friends with Cody, the guy who wrote Mythic C2. And someone went and wrote a JavaScript front end, a custom UI for Mythic that looks exactly like Cobalt Strike. And when he learned this, I think he died a little inside, because part of the whole reason he wrote Mythic is because he hated the Cobalt Strike user interface. So I think he just died a little inside when that happened. I gotta think about this. So if it's new, there is a potential that it is an untracked host. If it hasn't had a pre-flight check, so if the task has not had a pre-flight check, we're going to kick it over to here. If it has had a pre-flight check, oh wait, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, I gotta, damn it, this was all working so well. So to catch everybody up on what we're doing right now is we're just debugging the logic a bit, because the state management of this was not being tracked properly. And I think I still have the diagram up I drew. Yeah, here we go. I don't know where this funky line came from, ignore that. But in LangGraph, what you have is you have nodes executing basically in a directed graph style. And then you have a state table that sits up here. When you invoke each node in the line, it gets passed a reference to the state table. So if you mutate the state table, it will just directly mutate it through here, through the memory references. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's supposed to have a return function that passes through some kind of reducer function that tells it how to take the new data and merge it cleanly into the state table. Yeah, I wasn't doing that because I didn't understand. I didn't RTFM enough. And what happens is I was just polluting the state table. However, I happened to be polluting it in the correct way to track the data when it happened. So we're going through, we just cleaned up all the state management. It introduced a couple of small logic bugs when we had to do that. So now that's what we're cleaning up, is just how do we fix this issue right here. So the problem that was happening is this was actually our output host here, which, come to think of it, let me think about what the state of this would be. So this is saying we have a task that does not have a pre-flight check. And so what the pre-flight check does is before it attempts to go do a scan or do anything like that, it actually will send it over to this validator node. We can find that. So let's pull up the enum agent here. I'm going to bring this right about meow. Right, meow. Okay. So this validator node will actually sit over here and enum will say, hey, by the way, this task has not had a pre-flight check. And maybe the task is go figure out what version of Apache is running on the web server. Okay, cool. So enum would then say, hey, from all the data we already know about this host, all the scans, every piece of information we've collected, can you find this piece of information that we're trying to ascertain? So it will check everything that we've already done first before it says, yeah, let's go start running tool calls and everything. Very nice way to just kind of keep the state clean, reduce the number of language model calls and everything else we have to do. So it runs through here. So let's say we get a new task in here. It would say, first thing it's going to do is it's going to check the pre-flight check status. Pre-flight check is false. Then it's going to send it over to validator. And it's going to say, validator, can you figure this out? It's going to give a yes or a no. If it gives a yes, awesome. Enum agent's done. It returns back up to Stinger. If it's not done, then it will then execute through this loop of trying to ascertain it. So it'll make a tool call, format it, update the host tracking, and then send it back over to the validator here. So it can run through this loop a couple of times trying to sort it out before it bails out. So let me think about this. So we come in here, we have a new task. The new task could either exist in two states. Yes, it has a pre-flight check, or no, it does not have a pre-flight check. So the validator is going to pull data from there. Okay, I think I see where I need to go with this. And it's going to be like this. If it doesn't have a pre-flight check, then this is actually going to use the input host. So as long as the input host is not none, we should be good. Now, if the host is actually not being actively... This doesn't make any sense. Hold on. Let me double check something in the task structure. Where's the task object here? Let's see. Task. I probably need to go change that to a Pydantic class, but you know what? It's fine right now. It's working. Here we go. Here's our task. So our pre-flight check is a Boolean, true, false. Oh, you're so full of crap, Gumby. I know they can hear me. What's up, brother? Happy Sunday. If the pre-flight check is true, yeah, so there's two options in here. If the no pre-flight check and the host is being tracked, yep, I'm an idiot. I'm a dummy. So what should happen is, look at this. Yeah, I'm an idiot. This is a rare case, but do need to go ahead and clean it up. I need to copy this part right here. Because what should happen here? If we don't have a pre-flight check, we're going to have to send it to the validator anyway. And then there's two options. Either we have a tracked host or we don't. And the chances are likely, the reason why this is a not none, is because the chances are very, very high it's already going to be a tracked host. If it's not, then what we need to do is set this for our output host, and then we need to return that. So to the host table, we need to send output host. Hold on, I think that's incorrect. Oh, no, that's correct, because it's already in the dictionary format right here. It's got to be in the form of IP address for the key and the host object for the value. So yeah, so we instantiate a stub host, we give it a true pre-flight check, and then we... Actually, I take that back. I'm an idiot. Can it even be in this state? Hold on. Let me think about this. No, I'm not as big an idiot as I thought. So what happens here? If the host is being tracked and it doesn't have a pre-flight check, then we go initiate the pre-flight check. If the host is not being tracked, there's nothing to pre-flight because there's going to be no data to check it against. Okay. So yeah, this actually should have been our input host here. It was quiet because I was talking. Because when I'm talking, it ducks the alerts. Now, the question is, how do I want to handle this? Because in theory, we should be appending the input host to this. But if the input host is none, well, you know what we could do? We actually could just put this as the input host right here. Yeah. I think that because this will make sense, right? Even though input host is supposed to reflect something we have pulled from the state table, it doesn't necessarily have to. So this right here could be our input host for this, and then we can still follow that same structure right here. All right, so we'll say that our input host is now going to be this new tracked host that we just created. And then, yeah, we can track this right here. So we undo that. Perfect. Output host we're going to leave as none, because then what we'll do is we'll deep copy the input host just out of an abundance of caution. All right, so here's, if we have a working task, all this should be good. Although target IP, I think, I don't know why I've got this pulled out in so many different spots. I don't think we need to change this because it's going to be the same exact one. I think that's left over from when I was doing a lot more error checking before I added this section here that says, hey, by the way, if you're assigned a task that's not assigned to you, then just shunt it back up to Stinger and let Stinger figure it out. That's Stinger's job. He should manage well. Anyway, all right, cool. After we get this set up, I think that's all we needed. Here we're just making sure the task string is good. If it is, we format our call. And then output host has not been set yet. So let's see about this. Yeah, I think that will be good. So here's if the status is new, else meaning the status is working. In fact, we're doing the exact same thing here. So we can actually take this out. Now that I think about it, we can just bring this down here to prior to the input here. That'll be fine. I'm going to take that out and bring this down just a little bit. There we go. So after we get this going, now everything should be set up for the language model call. And in fact, this could even come down right about, yeah. All right, so we set the context, we set the task string, we get our response, we set our output. That's our agent messages. Here is our output task that we're modifying. So we only have to return output hosts if let me double check this. Where's output host being set? The only place it's being set is here. We're actually not setting it anywhere else. So I think what I'll do is I will actually define the value for that, right? Yeah. So we'll say output host. That's going to be our deep copy of the input host right here. Just like that. Okay. So this will catch because we set our input host up here in this scenario. So input host could either, hey, if it can pull something from there, then great. Otherwise, we go set this up. Yeah, we should be good there. All right, I got to get the IP address for the target. Then we can go do our seed run. But let's make sure it's actually up and working correctly. Let me double check this real quick. Nope, not like that. Okay, cool. So it's connected. Let me go grab the testing state data real quick. All right, and then let's go kick this sucker off. Let's see what happens. So we'll bring up Stinger here and fire it. Full send. And we'll see where it fails this time. I wish this display wouldn't just go absolutely bananas on me right here. But yeah. Oh, dude. So Agent Zero riding his four-wheeler, just ripping around the track. He was killing it, having a great time. I've got some video from a GoPro on his helmet. I can't wait to see that because, oh my God. And he had a little bit of trouble in, I don't know, 2 turns. A couple of times he did go off the track, but he didn't bail out. He didn't just like Superman himself off the four-wheeler like he used to. He used to panic. Now he's actually keeping control of it, and he recovered really well. So I had to give him props for that. Okay, enum errored out again. Sad panda. So where did this come back as? Key error on input host target IP. Oh, you know why? I think I know why that is. It's because input host was set up incorrectly. That's why. So input host is set up right here. Yeah, input host should not be this. It should literally just be... Yeah. It's not that the IP is wrong, right? Here's the IP, 1067.166.70, right? So that's the correct IP. The problem is how this was set up right here. This is set up here. That should not have been there. Because what we were doing is instead of pulling out the host, we were pulling out the entire host table there. Because all of these should be in this form of It should be a small single dictionary, and it should be the IP address and then the host object as the value. So what we want to do is we want to set this in here if that target IP for the task is in the host keys value. Otherwise, none. There we go. So this will tell us, do we have a current host that we're tracking for this? Yes, that's what I want. That's what I want. Excellent. Okay. All right. That's where this went wrong. But that's okay, because now... Oh, damn it. I don't think in... Well, actually, we can rerun from when Stinger passed execution down to enum. So it'll save us a little bit of trouble. Let's rerun from here. Nope, it didn't like that. Input to the chat prompt template is missing a variable previous attempts. What? Oh, over in the validator. Let's see. Oh, let's go take a look at the validator node then. Where are you, validator? Here's our validator. Let me bring this up. So here's our language model call right here. What did it say here? So input to the chat prompt template is missing a variable previous attempts. Expected context previous attempts and tasks. That is not bueno. Hold on. Because all we have here is task and host data. That is not correct. That sounds like a problem with the server, because there should be nothing in here. Oh, it's because I'm an idiot. Look, this was in the validator. Validator was fine. This is a problem over in the enum agent, where we just previously were. So that's over here. So where do we set up the language model call? Here we go. All right, let's look at this prompt template. So we have task, context, and previous attempts. Oh shit, what was previous attempts? Reminds you of the Warcraft music. If I thought I could get away with putting some of the Warcraft music in, I would. I never played the RTS, but I did play the crap out of World of Warcraft, man. In fact, that was how I learned Excel back in the day, was I made a spreadsheet to track how strong my Retribution Paladin would be. Oh yeah, not sponsored by Jocko yet. Yeah, I made a spreadsheet to figure out what was going to give me the most benefit for my Retribution Paladin. And then I was just crushing it during raids. And people were getting pissed that a Paladin was in the top 5 for damage dealt. You know, with hunters and rogues and warriors and everything else. And then they would look at my gear and it's like, what the crap is this gear that you're wearing? You're not even wearing plate. You're just stacked with what was it? Spell power, I think. I think that was the attribute. And I was like, don't hate the player, hate the game? I think the major RTS that I loved playing Nord back in the day was Command & Conquer Red Alert. God, those were good games. Loved those ones. They were such good games. I haven't really picked up an RTS since then, except maybe I think I played the Dune one just for fun. Yeah. Let me think about this. Oh yeah, I did see that. So if anybody didn't know, the old Command and Conquer games, they open source the binaries for those. So I think actually there's people keeping it alive now. Like they've spun up their own servers so people can go play it. I was like, that's pretty cool. I think that should happen with a lot more games. But also, I think it's one of those things where it's not something you can demand of a company, but it is something that you should monetarily incentivize for a company. So if a company has a history of doing that, then you should try and incentivize them by buying their current games. So what happened here? We have task, context, and previous attempts. I tell you what, because I don't feel like going and digging through the commit history. Let's see. Blast this out. Let me see. Check enum agent.py. You see when. What was that command called? Enum agent function stopped including previous attempts in the prompt template. I'm just gonna have it. I'm gonna have Claude be my little biatch and go check the commit history for me in the prompt template. Just let it run. Claude's doing good. Might also be enjoyable reverse engineering the good games for training tools. Dude, I loved all the trainers back then. And yeah, I think that's actually a really good exercise. In fact, I tell people that want to get into reverse engineering, go look at game reverse engineering, because those guys go hard. It's like, it's funny because you look at like malware developers and like, hey, I found this new thing on how to do this in the kernel. And the game cheaters, the guys developing game hacks are like, yeah, bro, we've known about that for like 8 years. Oh, that's how you learned? Badass. That's how you clipped that. Okay, I had to make sure something was working here. Let me actually turn off the desktop audio. There we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. Sure enough, it was me. It was removed during the state management refactoring, likely an accidental deletion while cleaning up the direct state mutations. Oops. Oops. Well, the good news is, that actually was super handy for finding it for me. Thank you, Claude. No, I don't want to do that. Well, easy peasy. Just drop that right there. I think I accidentally might have deleted that, and then this was supposed to be the input task. Yeah. There we go. To keep with our variable convention, that should have been the input task, and just pull the output field from that. Okay. Let's go try running that one more time. Uno mas, por favor. We'll time travel this sucker. So you learn really quickly that way because you're motivated to reverse engineer a system you want to change to be able to change it. I know, right? I think if I was younger, Nord, I would probably do that and I would take that route. Maybe I still will when I want to get deeper into reverse engineering. But also, I don't know how far I want to go down that route. If I was younger, I would definitely go down that route because I used to play the crap out of video games. And now, I basically don't get to play too much these days. I think the last game I was playing was... I played a little bit of Helldivers. I played a little bit of Alan Wake Remastered because I really liked that game. And so occasionally when I do like a fun, like just chill out and chat, let people ask questions stream, then that's what I'll usually pop up a video game. All right, man. Totally will. All right, we has a new error. What is the new error? Okay, so we did a tool. Hold on, what was the task here that it was tasked with? Let me check real quick. Oh, that's not good. Hang on one second. Let me come back up to Stinger real quick. And let me look at the input state here. Is it not... Did I not fix the tracking issue? Hold on, let me collapse that down. Oh, I didn't. Damn it. So for some reason, this host, even though it was being tracked, see that the ports weren't being tracked. All right, let's go back over to Recon. I remembered that. I forgot that that was actually something we needed to do, was for some reason that was not being tracked over here in the Recon agent. I need to add some more time to the box. My timer just went off. Add an hour. You logged me out, didn't you? It always does this crap during the Sunday night streams. Oh no, I forgot. You can't do it while it's 59 minutes or something like that. It rounds the time up. If you're too close to 1 hour, it won't let you update it. There we go. I don't play too many games now because HackerCat takes up all my time. Playing games makes me feel like I'm slacking, and if anything, I might RE a game because I have a mod project in mind. Oh, okay. Yeah, man, between all the stuff I do with the kids and just trying to like do some stuff with work, this is really my one fun project is HackBot. Coming through and just making it do fun, you know, computer hood rat stuff. All right, I need to go back up a bit here. I need to look at, I think this one was our seed run for tonight. Wonder why it says handoff didn't have anything. That should be fine. Yeah, there's supposed to be an interrupt there. I actually don't need the handoff node, come to think of it. It could just go to the end node. I tell you what, I want to test something real fast. Because we actually don't need the handoff. Where is handoff? I'm going to try something here. I'm going to take this out. And then... So now if I save that, let me see how it recompiles the graph over here. It's probably going to throw a fit. I think I probably broke it. Branch found unknown target. Recon. Oh, okay, hold on. That's not the only one I need to... Here we go. Where else is recon handoff to? Right here. Let me do this. That's why, because it's trying to figure out where this branch could go, this conditional branch. And that's actually going to go to the router. So let me go to that, and then this should be end, I think. Or is it just end here? What does it actually show up as? Yeah, it just shows up as end. I think that's it. I think that's how I want it to do. So now, yeah, Recon Agent can directly end this execution. Let me come over here. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Sock brought me tea because she loves me. I enjoy tinkering with games, computers more than I do gaming now, which is crazy because at one point I might have been addicted to games. I feel you, dude. That was me when I was younger. I had a very set routine. So when I was younger, I was teaching martial arts for a living. That's what I did. And so I would basically I would be teaching always in the afternoon, right? Because you got to teach whenever the kids are available. So I'd be teaching from about 4 until roughly 9 o'clock at night is when the last class ended. And then usually it was probably about an hour drive to get from there back to my house. I'd go pick up a freaking Little Caesars $5 pizza and I would just crush that. And then I'd play World of Warcraft until, I don't know, 2 in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning, crash out. And because I didn't work until the afternoon. So, but yeah, that was in my my younger days. I cannot go crush a pizza now and keep my girlish figure. All right, I want to go run this again here. I need to go grab a copy of this the test state. Copy. Because I want to see if it will actually allow it to run off of here. Submit. Once it hits the enum agent, I'm going to kill it because I know there's a problem in the recon agent here. I just want to see if it will execute the recon agent and pass execution over to enum. If it will, then we know that we don't need those handoff nodes. Because it should pass it back to the node that invoked it. Yeah. I don't think I was 17. I was 19 when I was doing that. I started taking classes when I was 16 and just really threw myself into it. I was up at the school for like 3 or 4 hours every day, 6 days a week. And sometimes on Sunday too. And just really getting after it. And so when I was 19, I started teaching. Key error to end. How do we? I gotta remember how to do that. Yeah, that was the problem. That was the problem there. Ask him. In LangGraph, how do you route to the end node? Just ask Claude how to do it real fast. I can't remember exactly what it is. I don't think this needs to be end. I think it needs to be like end, like that. I forget what the exact nomenclature is. Yeah, you really got to have a lot of activity. And I was, because I think I was having pretty much constant physical activity for not the entire time that I was teaching, but about half the time, right? So that's still 2 hours every night that I was doing that. And then on Saturdays, I taught class in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I went to my instructor to have my own class. So every Saturday, I was probably getting at least 3 hours of cardio while I was doing that. I tried working out. I always ended up hurting myself, and it's because I usually had bad form. So really, martial arts was my only exercise. And I had been working out recently until I injured my back in January. So I had a lot of life events happen about mid 2024, and then I severely injured my back in January of 25. And so it's just finally getting back to the point where pretty soon I should be able to get back on a regular exercise routine. Okay, so it should just be end right here. Okay, so I need to actually invoke those from start and end. Okay. That is what I thought I needed to do. Hold on, I can't find the right window. Hold on, what did Claude actually come back with? So it's saying that we need to add an edge from there to end. Okay. So let me go back here, end. It's going to say I don't know what end is. We can import that from LangGraph. Nope, that is not where I want to import that. Hang on. Start, end. There we go. Then let me come down to the workflow. There we go. So now, instead of this, we should have it also be able to route to end. And I think I actually need to add that as, yeah, final node end. Okay. So I'm just massaging the execution flow here at teensy weensy bit. Where is, here's handoff. I'm going to change this. Let's see. I'm just going to call it the handoff node. Handoff, and this is going to go to end right there. I think that should fix it. Let's see if it hot loads in properly. What is this warning here? I'll have to go check what that warning means a little bit. It did not like that. Failed to load graph from Stinger, expected a runnable. Got a dictionary instead. What is this error here? Yeah, what's funny is I didn't even hurt it in an interesting way, Nord. I just hopped off the back of a pickup truck. I was loading up four-wheelers on it. So it's talking like a 3-foot drop, and I blew a disc out in my back. And just completely, it looked like a freaking supernova on the MRI. Oh, I know why. It's because I'm an idiot. Yeah. This should have been handoff right here. This should not have been end. That should have been handoff like that. There we go. That should fix it. I take it back. They didn't like that. Expected a runnable, callable, or dictionary. Instead, got an unsupported type string. Well. Well, what was the example Claude gave? So. Oh, we would or return end as a string. Okay. I think that was the problem. Maybe up here in the router? Let's see. Where was the recon router? Yeah, because we had to actually return end function right there. Yeah, so it returns end. Got it. And then... So for the flow here, we instantiate it. We have my node going to a function. And then we have the router that could go to next node or end. And then we have an edge from final node to end. Make sure I got this correct here. Because we have a lot of edges in here. Yeah, so actually we can reference end in the conditional edge. So yeah, this should have just been end right here. In fact, I want to take this and I'm going to put it on the end right here. I shouldn't need that. Yeah. Hey, Gumby. It's not pooping time right now, you weirdos always wanting to track my poops. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had constant back issues, and so I didn't realize until I'm about to turn 42. When I was 35, I learned that I had severe scoliosis in my back, and I didn't even know that. But it was interesting looking back because, like I said, when I practiced martial arts, I I found it was naturally beneficial for me to fight southpaw. Even though I'm right-handed, I would fight southpaw, and it's because the way the curvature of my back worked. So my back kind of curved like this. So it's a left lumbar curve. Hold on, I did that backwards. Back this out. It's a left lumbar curve and a right thoracic curve. So up here's my head, right? So this is my right side here. And this means this is my right leg. So what I would do is I would fight southpaw. So I'd fight right side forward because I could snap those jabs out with a huge amount of force. And I could snap that leading right leg out with a huge amount of force. So what I did is I used those strong sides front, and then the left sides were more for targeted attacks. And this worked out so well, and it threw so many people off because I actually could swap sides. I had no problem with it. This was just my power stance. I could switch to where I was fighting normal and have no problem with it. But I didn't know why this was until I figured out from one of my doctors that I had scoliosis. And so because of that curvature, I could just really get that right jab out there super fast and just punish people with it. So it's kind of funny whenever you learn something and then in retrospect, something else makes sense. So this should just be able to return end. Let me go back up to the recon router here. So yeah, we can just return end off of this. Should be good. This is the only invocation of that. So it should have listings 2 here. Oh, this is if we wanted to add a direct edge. We're not adding a direct edge, we're adding a conditional edge. So yeah, the handoff should go away. Let me see how if this did it. All right, there we go. I think I unscrewed the pooch. All right, now let me go try run this. Rerun from here. I just want to see if it will allow it to, if this will properly pass back up to Stinger and then let Stinger do it. Because then I can get rid of those handoff nodes because they've been, I put those in originally whenever I wasn't quite sure how the execution pattern was working. I'm pretty sure this will work. So like, we'll test it. So the scoliosis made you more powerful in some ways, and it made me weaker in many other ways. So a part of that was also I got really weak when I was going through college because I wasn't working out and I was spending all my time studying and sitting down. And something else happened too. So this beard is about 4 years worth of growth. It happened when I was at work and I was just busting tail and not working very many hours. Oh, okay, so that is not what I wanted to happen. Let's come back down here. So it looks like it completed, but it did the recon workflow and then it just ended. Okay, so we do need the handoff. Yes, we do. All right. So I'm not a complete idiot. I mean, I am, but at least not in this case. So let's take this. Let's back that out. We're going to back that thing up. Boop. And then we're going to back that thing up. Doop. And then I need to go back up to the recon router and back that thing up right there. There we go. Okay, so that should fix it back to its original state. Yeah. And one of the other things I couldn't ever figure out was why I was having chronic back pain. Also, on my rib cage, these ribs on my left side, they stick out further than on my right side. So that caused all sorts of issues too, especially while grappling. It did pretty good, but it did like introduce a weakness that if they found it, it would have been pretty bad. But nobody usually ever found it. So I didn't have much problem with grappling because of that. Now, if it was one of my friends and they knew that was an issue, they would bug me with it. They'd be hitting in there because those ribs are sticking out farther, right? So it's just like a little extra fulcrum that they could like get an elbow on and piss me off. All right, now I need to go through, and the good news is actually this will give us a clean check of where the issues are occurring with this. So if we look at the host update here, and we look at the output, so here we do. We've got our data coming in right here, so that's being returned. And if we go to the validator, what do we have? So for some reason, the validator is not seeing any ports, even though host update is returning it. So we returned one host with this ID, this IP address. So why would this be returned and not merged into the state table? So let's take a look. Let's look at the input state real quick. Actually, we already looked at the input state. So the output state of the host update, basically where it should take all the various information and go make updates to the host tracker, right? So for example, we come up here to host, we have one, we have no ports, which is understandable. But then for the output, we're updating that host, right? Let's see. Oh, I think I see why. Yep, I see. Host update is not formatting the return correctly for the reducer. I think that's the issue. Hold on, so where's our host updater? Let's see. Where is that node? Hold on. Where's host update? Here's host update. Here we go. It returns an output host. Yeah, there we go. That's the issue. Urgh. Yep. That is not correcto. All right, let's go fix that. So this, come down here. Where's the host? Here we go. So yeah, dictionary matching a string to a host. That's what this needs to be. All right, there we go. So output host becomes this guy right here. And this is fine because this is all we have to do here is we're going to say from the state table, get the current IP, and then we're going to match that up to right here, just like so. There we go. So now it's going to be in the proper format because the dictionary reducer couldn't do it. And then what about response? Why is it saying responses? Hold on. Why do I have output host set twice here? Oh, because this is one of the few times we actually did an LLM with a structured output. Yeah, so I take that back. What this should be, it should be like this, and then the response should actually be right here. There we go. And I don't know why that's in there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. That's what was happening. Hey, Killa. Happy Sunday, brother. What's crack-a-lackin'? Oh, hey, man. Don't apologize, dude. You're good. Okay, so yeah, that's what was happening. So we were returning the output hosts. We actually need to refactor this. This needs to be output hosts. Because I want that to match what's in here. So that's a host key. So this is output hosts, plural. Let me double check this one. So this is pulling directly from Vertex. Okay, Vertex should be its own data structure. I think this will be fine. Yeah. Okay, so that's what was jacking it all up right there. So now, unfortunately, we had to rerun the entire freaking recon again. Oh, that sucks. I wish I could time travel inside of this. But unfortunately, when we're running things from Stinger, we can't run them directly in here. All right, rerun from here. I really should just import libnmap and do the XML parsing locally if it's an nmap scan, just for simplicity's sake, and not have to send that huge XML blob to the language model. It's not so bad because it's input tokens. They're a quarter of the cost of output tokens, but still. One of the other downsides, when it's running in this configuration, I can't tell it to... Oh, I can, actually. Hang on. Where's enum? That's exploit. Enum.
Buy you a pewter for Christmas?
She did 1 year. Hey, Band, what's up, dude? All right, hold on. Let me cancel out of this. So now let's go double check the trace and make sure that this updated correctly. All right, so after a host update, I think down here, this one, when it ran, I think we saw validators say that it actually had 0. Yeah, answer is 0. Because the data wasn't being tracked. Now, if we come back to this latest one, and if we look at the validator, answer 2. Yeah, we should see 80 and 22 open. Perfect. All right. Got that unkerfuffled. All right, so now I need to go propagate these changes. Wait, this is host update. Yeah. Let me close that out. Actually, I think that might actually fix it. Were there any changes made in here? Let me see. I don't think so. I still got a couple of lingering line breaks. Let me take those out. And then what are these updates here? Okay, fine. Will that make you happy if I do that? These freaking yellow squigglies. Okay, fine. Go away. Get rid of you. Get rid of this. End. Yeah, let me take that out. Okay, there we go. Nice and clean right there. I think I got the same thing up here. Yeah. Fine, it could be a none as well. And then this one, take these out and take those out. All right. I think that gets it to be Gucci in here. All right, I'm gonna let this chill for just a second. Well, let's see, it should hot load in, and then we're gonna run it from scratch, from Recon, and let it go through the enumeration agent. And if everything's working right, hopefully we'll see it go through the exploitation workflow as well. So let me spin up a new thread here. Let me take off this interrupt. And I gotta grab the state data real fast. Where is that? Here we go. So let's copy that. Drop it right, meow. And full send. Okay. So while this is running, I'm gonna leave it up. I'm gonna run to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. And no, for the record, I was not pooping. You bunch of weirdos. All right, hopefully it hasn't been stuck in this loop again. Hey, all right, it got to the exploit agent. Let's go. All right, we're just gonna let exploit run. We'll see what it do. What the shit is this? Holy crap! That is, hold on. Something is very wrong. There should not be 52 tasks. What the hell happened? That does not spark joy. Hang on, let me refresh this page. Something bad happened. Something bad. Hold on. All right, so this is the input state, right? We should have 5 tasks in here. Right there. Or 6, actually. 0 through 5. Number 5 should be assigned to the exploit agent. Go get remote code execution. All right. Oh, damn it. It doesn't... I think I need to do it here. Why you do this? What in the hell happened? Okay, so Enum did go through, said, hey, we're running Apache 2441. Let me look at something real quick. So Recon went through... Actually, hang on. I need to look at the input state to this real fast. So let me look at Stinger here. So we had only one task assigned to Recon. Okay, scan the target, find the open ports, check what version of Apache is running, what's running on port 22, use GoBuster. Okay. And then examine the directories and find which URLs have upload forms from GoBuster, and then get the remote code execution. So that's what it's got. I think... this is technically the way it should be. So let's trace what happens here. So Enum comes in, gets a task, and says, hey, this is what I'm going to do. It goes through, it handles the task, it kicks it back up to Stinger. It goes through and handles a task, hits it back up to Stinger. Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 assigned to Enum. So we should see 4 invocations of the Enum agent, right? So... yeah, and then so we see it goes to Enum, goes back to Stinger, right? Let me just collapse these down. Because I want to count these real quick here. Okay. So here was it calling Recon. So we have Recon for the 1, and then we have Enum for the 4 tasks that are assigned to it. Okay. Good enough. And then it sends it over to Exploit. So at load pickle, what happened here? Let's double check it real fast. Current task 15. What the French toast? Oh God, what are all these? Okay, hold on. Let me look at something real quick. So 0, we had 0 through 5, right? So what is number 6 here? Enum agent. What's 5? Enum. What the crap happened here? Something must be wrong with the task reducer. Hey, Max. Found a new bug. So doing all the state cleanup has introduced a new bug here where all of a sudden we have like... freaking all the tasks just happen in here, man. What the crap? Let me go look at the task. I think the most likely solution to this is it's the task reducer. So let's go look at that real quick. So task list merge. Let's see. So here's our output task list. So what we have is we have current and we have new. So this is what is currently in the state table. This is a new task or a list of tasks that are coming back. Really, it should just be one. Nothing has returned a list of tasks yet. But anyway, let's look at what it does here. So it checks to see, first off, are we dealing with a list? So we start with a blank list from output, and then we iterate over what's current in there. We get the current ID, and then for each of the new tasks, what are we doing here? You made the poop command, but we're the weirdos. I made it as a joke, and I made it a joke because Oni was talking about his wife, who's from Thailand, and apparently there's zero social qualms about somebody says they're going to the bathroom. They just always ask, "Oh, you pooping?" And just, damn. So he was constantly making that joke, so I put that in there as a joke, and you guys just ran with it.
Incoming transmission from Moreno Gumby. Check time on the box.
Yeah, we're still good. Although I didn't set a timer, so there we go. I've got a 1 hour timer set now. Okay, this is the only place where this makes sense is the reducer. Actually, hang on. Let's double check something else in the trace here real quick. So let me minimize this and minimize all of these. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Output. Damn it, nothing came back. Hold on. Let's look at Stinger's input then. Because Stinger's input should match what Recon sent back to it here. So hosts, we have exactly one host. That's fine. And we have the 5 in here. Okay. So then, after the first enum loop, let's go see what happens here. What's the input to Stinger that's been getting passed back? So we still have just the one host. And then for our tasks, what do we have? Still just 5 right here. Okay, so what when we come down to here? Hey, Fiend, what's up, man? Okay, so the second iteration. So that was the first iteration of the enum loop. Now we're going to the second iteration. So on the second iteration, current task is 2. All right, we're good. So if the current task is 2, we know we haven't hit this weird spot yet. Current task 3. All right, sexy. Doing great. Let's look here. Current task 4. Okay. Once we hit the exploit agent, okay, that's weird. I need to go double check this. Exploit, for some reason, went to the router and immediately handed it off. So that's weird. Let's go see what's happening here. Current task is 5. So how many tasks do we have in the list? Oh god. Oh god. Look at that. Look at that. What in the fresh hell is this?
Incoming transmission from Moreno Gumby. That Mac has entered that arena.
Oh, hey Bobby, what's up, man? The Mac has entered. We're shaking tonight in debug land. So it looks like something is now off in the Something is very, very off in the exploit graph. Look at this. So what happens here? We made a little change. And now, whenever it's done with the task, it immediately passes back up to Stinger and lets Stinger handle the next task and send it down to the target. So it no longer will sit there and keep looking to see if it's got more tasks it needs to run. That's fine. And in fact, that's probably going to be better in the future. It does make the trace a little bit more of a pain to look at. But here's what happened. We had 1 task assigned to Recon. We had 4 assigned to Enum. Enum. Those are all good. And then for some reason here in the exploit graph, it is loading the pickle and immediately bailing out over here. Let me look at load pickle. So this is the input side. Let me collapse these down. Okay, input side looks fine for the pickle function. So then what about the output? What do we see here? This looks fine. Task, what are we dealing with? Okay, so the pickle is not mutating the context at all, which is perfect. What it should do, that load pickle function should look at the state table as it passes through there, and it should say, if I have data in the state table, save it to disk. If I don't have data in the state table, load it from disk. That's essentially what it's doing. So then what happens here on the exploit agent? Input should look just fine, but I'm not taking anything for granted in case I missed a state polluter. Oh god, that is terabad. What in the hell? Oh. Oh, the pickle is what's jacking it up. I bet we have 11 tasks in here now. I bet we have 0 through 10. We have 0 through 8? What the hell? Okay, hang on. Let me collapse some of this stuff down. So, okay, so the Recon one, this is ID ZEHWL. So I'm going to just scroll through this list real quick here. Enum. Exploit. What in the hell happened? Something happened when it in the load pickle that completely jacked everything up. So this was ZEHWL. This was 0RN36. All right, so all these look at the surface legit. So then what happens here is so what the hell happened here? Because this is what we're returning, right? We're basically returning the exact same context as we did. Let me look at that function over in the exploit agent. Let's bring this over. We're returning the entire state. That's what happened here. Yeah. Okay. I think instead, if we just return, and this is the case here. So here, if the number of current tasks is greater than 0, we're assuming the task is being worked on. Pickle the state to disk. And so if we're saving it to disk, we want to do this instead. Just return a blank dictionary. We're not going to update the state table at all. Just like that. I think that's actually what's causing it. Because now that we have the reducers, they're not just clobbering the state table and overloading it. Yep, I think that's what's happening here. Run not found? What? You bastard. That's okay, actually, because it pickled this over into the exploit agent. No, damn it. I need to actually run it back from Stinger. Why did this all get jacked up? All right, fine. We'll just run it from scratch then. Let me go grab the state table again. I'm afraid to refresh the page to try and fix some of this rendering. Because we'll probably have to go through whatever the crap was with the course headers I had to go fix. You guys talking about Arc Raiders, man, I so badly want to play that. I know I just don't have the time to go play it. Hey, Tim, what's up, brother? The commander is in the house. Happy Sunday, dude. All right, so it's running. It should be using GoBuster right now. Let's go double check the server and make sure it's actually running. Yep, there we go. So GoBuster is running. That should be good. And GoBuster actually finished pretty quick. I know TryHackMe did an update to allow their infrastructure to run a little bit better. But also, oh, what happened here? I don't think it liked that blank update. Object type int is not subscriptable? Oh shit, what'd I do? What did I do? Oh, yeah, I know what I did there. That shouldn't be current task. That should be input task. I should have renamed that. I should have renamed that. Oh, well, I'm not going to go fix it at this exact moment. But what I am going to do... So that's on line 76, exploit agent. That was a typo on my part. Let's see. That shouldn't be input current task. This should be input task. Current task is the index. So what I should have done is I should have renamed that. I should have renamed that to task index in the state table. Yeah, so down here, I wish I hadn't called that current task. I wish I had called that task index. Oh well. Don't get Arc Raiders, it's not worth the money. It looks like such a fun game, though. Yeah, Tim, you showed us the reactor script that you were working on in Minecraft. That was really cool. How big a squad can you run in Raiders, Bobby? Oh, so you can have up to 3? Got it. You got another issue, Tib? Fire away, dude. All right. Yeah, I see where that issue here was. I'm going to bring this up, actually. There we go. This is such a useless comment, too. It's like, if task is working. Fine. All right, let me see where I can run this back from. I believe I can rerun it from here, which was before it entered the exploit agent. There we go. Well, it didn't like that, did it?
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. We should do it on stream together and co-stream it.
Co-stream it. I'd be down for that, man. All right, what was this error that it just came up with? Let me see. What is wrong with this? This was on line 180 in the validator? Let's go double check that. So it's saying that list indices must be integers or slices, not a none type. Oh, I got it.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. Just name a time I'm open to any time.
Dude, I had to go buy the game first and learn how to play it. That's the hard part. I am currently facing the biggest BBEG of my life, which is scheduling. The game's got the potential to bring out simultaneously the best and worst of people at the same time. Yeah, I believe that. That was one of the things I really liked about Helldivers is it's 100% co-op. Right? It doesn't matter who's doing stuff. It's like everybody shares in the win or the fail.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. Nope, just full send it.
Full send. I wish. Dude, my sleep tracker is looking at me like, why do you even have me? You don't even give a damn and you don't listen to my input. So here it's saying that on 180, the EX tax. This is get current exploit task from the state. So why is this returning a none? Oh, because it's checking to see if anything is working in here. This actually should never return a none, now that I think about it. Actually, this would work okay. Yeah, there should be two different for loops in here, now that I think about it. Because this is just looking for whatever the current exploit. Check the state table for the currently working exploit task, return none if none are found. So for a quick recap of why this is an issue. So up here, there's these nested data structures in the state table. So we have a task, it's a list in here. And then each task has an output array to it as well. And that's actually where we're storing a different type of task, specifically called an exploit task. So those exploit tasks are special instances of tasks designed to allow for, I call it speculative tasking, saying, hey, I think this will work, go try it, make error corrections, and if it doesn't work, then we'll bail out, we'll try a different exploit path. That's what it's there for. So what it's trying to do is it's trying to find which one is working. This worked previously because we had a shortcut in here. So what we need to do now is, we're going to change this to new. So if it finds a new task, then return that index. It will never return a none. Actually, I'm going to say, yeah, it can return a none. But it never should get there. They should only be new or working like that. So that's what happened here. Because it was brand new, that should have been set to none. What does it get set to working, though? To think about it. Hey, Noiby, what's up, man? Happy Sunday. Tried to drink that too fast. I went to my mustache. Yummy. Yummy tea. Oh, you got your new script? All right, let's take a look at it real quick. So what's the issue you're running across with it, Noipi? Or with Tib Tib? Oh, so the max temperature is nil. So I'm trying to figure out the math needed to convert it to a percentage. Okay. Where's it? What line does it calculate the max temperature on? Let me see. $82. All right, let's look at that real quick. Ah, 10%. Okay. So you're pulling the temperature. You're pulling the max temperature. And then you're... So one thing you always want to double check is what's the order of operations for whatever you're doing. I'm not sure for Lua. I don't know if Lua will take this and run it left to right. Because mathematically, divides and multiplies execute left to right in that order. Because if you think about it, a division is just a multiplication of an inverse. But as I'm looking at this... So you're doing the max temperature. I think what you really want is maybe this. You may want to actually take this and put it into a set of parentheses. I have no idea how to say your name, but thanks for coming online, man. If I could get one superpower, it actually probably wouldn't be like flight or, you know, super speed or something. I want the all speak. I would really like to just be the master of all languages. That would be so cool. I would double check what this max temperature value needs to be. Okay, so there's the absolute max temp. It should be this. Okay, so 10,000 degrees. And it shouldn't go higher than 8K. Okay. So shouldn't this info max temp be 10,000? Can I modify this? I can. Okay. I didn't realize that. I haven't ever messed with CodeShare. Nobody sends me CodeShare because they don't want to put exploits up here. Hold on. I think you had a link to copy this real quick. Can I copy this? Let's see. Let me see if I can find out where's the... This mod is licensed under the Don't Be a Jerk license. Nice. I love that. Oh, okay. Awesome. All right, so quick question. Tip. Is info max temperature going to always be 10,000? Is that a static value? Okay, if that's going to be a static value, then what you want to do is, whatever your temperature is, I mean, that's pretty much it. So you divide these two. Oh, hold on, I screwed that up. Yeah, there we go. So you take whatever your current temperature is divided by your max temperature. That gives you the percentage. And then actually, you don't want to multiply it by 0.1. You want to multiply it by 100. And that will give you the percentage value right there. So for example, if your current temperature was 5,000, right? Or actually, yeah, you could hard code that to 10,000 even, and don't tell it to reference it. So yeah, if you do, let's say like your current temperature was 5,000 and you divide it by 10,000, right? Then what you're going to get is, you're going to get 0.5, right? So then you multiply it by 100, that's going to get you 50. So then that would be your actual percentage right here. Now the math floor you may not even need. Math floor might, I'm not sure what it's doing in this example. If it's taking it to a particular integer value. But yeah, double check if you need that math floor. But this section right here that I just highlighted, that is what's going to get you the percentage value. Current divided by maximum multiplied by 100, that gives you the percentage. Oh, that just tells it to do the math? Okay. There might be another version of, instead of calling the floor function, typically a floor function says, hey, take this and move it to like a lower bound, depending on which precision placement you've got. You also have like typically like a ceiling function in there. Just double check that that is the correct function that you want to use. But yeah, so this is going to be the correct formula here. That will give you a percentage value. If you leave off the 100, you're going to have like a 0.5, right? You multiply it by 100, then you get 50. So it'd be 50% of the max temperature here. Same thing with this one, I think, for the containment value. You might want to double check that as well. No band. Nobody should be sharing Rust code with me unless you just want to see a grown man bleed out of his eyes on stream. And I know you all do, so just don't share it anyway. God, I hate Rust. I don't hate Rust, I hate the syntax. The syntax looks just absolutely abominable. Abominable. So, I would say use this formula here on line 82. That's going to get you your proper percentage. And if you can hard code the values, if those aren't ever going to change, that's great. Double check this floor function and make sure you know what it's doing. Page of the API has the full link. Let me see. Let's see. Hiya here. I think that's right. Hiya here. Hey man, thanks for coming online. Welcome in. I hope you're having a great Sunday. It is a happy Sunday. It was a good day. Only thing that could have made it better is if I had had time to take a nap. But I had to disassemble Agent Zero's four-wheeler, and dude, he shredded that thing. He was riding it hard, and he stripped off a bunch of. There's a gear inside the gearbox called the variator, and it's got all these little fans to it. It looks kind of like this. So it's like a circle, and there's all these little fans coming off of it. And all those fans, the outside edge of them have been completely stripped out. It's like there was a chunk taken out, like a little, like freaking metal-eating mouse went through and just nibbled off the edge of every fan in there. He was riding that thing hard. So, let's see, what was that value in here? That value was... Let me look for this, because probably wherever that is referenced in this code is where... Gross. Java. All right. Temperature, max fuel strength, max fuel conversion. What was that? I don't remember what that hard value was in here. Yeah, like I didn't see max temperature in here. When you had been using that previously, yeah, I didn't see that one in here, but... Oh, read. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't grab the issue link to it. Hang on, let me do that. Let's go check out issue 260 real fast. Undo. Godly. There we go. Let's see. Try to add some documentation on the table for the next release in the meantime. So you have set override. I thought you had them. So yeah, see max field strength, max fuel conversion. I didn't see the info. I didn't see the info about the max temperature, but you said that's hard coded to like 10,000. Yeah, so that should be good. Yeah, I would update this one to follow that same style right here. So you could even just say right here and then multiply by 100 to get your percentage. Same thing with this one. If those are the exact values, then yeah, multiplying that by 100 would get it for you. Alex, the retranslator. Thanks for coming online, buddy. Brother, I can't talk. I said butter. Just so you know, though, I freaking love butter. So don't take it as an insult. But yeah, that's all you're going to do here for these tip is you're going to take those, divide them by whatever reference value you have, or if you have a hard-coded or hard-capped value, you can use that in here. Divide those two, multiply by 100. That'll get you your percentage. I'm guessing this math floor, though, is actually from the actual math in... what is it? In the Minecraft engine. So just double check what that floor function is doing in here. Because when you divide these, because your multiplication by 100 is occurring outside this. So the actual order of operations is, it's going to do the division, then it's going to pass it to the floor function, and then it's finally going to multiply it by 100. So you want to double check what this value is going to come out to. Because if it floors it to like the nearest integer, this is just going to go to 0, because this is going to be a 0.5 until you do the multiplication by 100. So just think through each of the steps of like how it's going to be executing in order. I like what you've got, though. I could just see Agent Zero like, Daddy, when can we do Minecraft mods? Oh, God. As if he doesn't already monopolize all my time. Gotcha. But yeah, man, I think you can get it from there. All right, let me go pull up HackBot again here real quick. Let me double check this. So we made an update to the get current exploit task. That should now return one that is new or one that is working. And then from there, we pull out the exploit task based off of that from the state table. And then we check for the initial access exploit. And the initial access exploit, if we go look at the exploit task structure, here it is. That initial access exploit is going to be either this or none. And when we instantiate that, that should be in tasking. Let's see. Yeah, create exploit step. Oh, no, that's a step. Hold on. Where's the exploit task? Here we go. Yeah, because when it first instantiates... Oh, that's a task basic info. Hold on. Where did I do this for? Oh, here it is. Yeah, so when we instantiate these exploit tasks, the initial access exploit gets instantiated to 0. So it's going to be 0 by default. So, excellent. So once it comes through here and it checks this, it checks is it none, and we say there's no initial access payload, so it's going to pass to the exploit agent. Okay. I think that will fix it. Unfortunately, I think I got to run it from scratch here. Let me see where I can run this from. Actually, we can rerun it from here. Let's go try it. So, son of a bee sting. What the hell? It didn't even have time to make a language call. What is this error here? On line 180. So it came back as a none again. It's saying that this is coming back as a none, but there should... Oh. Oh. Yep, I think I see what's happening, actually. Let's go take a look at this. So, let me collapse this down. So from Stinger, what's happening here, right? Load pickle should return nothing, because we already have an active state table, right? So output, nothing. Perfect. Exploit agent comes in, gets a list of the tasks in here, right? So we go down to the very last task, which is going to be our exploit task. And if we look at output, there are no exploit tasks in here. So that's why the validator's failing, because it's coming back saying there's none. Okay. Okay. This is actually an issue in not the validator. This is an issue in the exploit agent itself. So we need to go look at the exploit agent. The validator is doing its job. It's just we need to change when it's going to pass to the exploit agent. Actually, let me think about this. Let's look at the state table here for a sec. So looking at the state table, what happens is the agents themselves. So these guys, let me pull this back up here. So these are the primary agents, right? They work off a task. So this value right here. What? No, not that one. This one. They work off this task list right here, right? That is a type task in here. And inside of a task, we can have an output. We have an output field because this is tracking the data that was done to try to achieve the task. So normally that would be dictionaries, which are containing like all the information about the output coming into them, tasks that were run. Instead, this case, it's coming to be an exploit task. We don't have an exploit task yet. However, what we do have is... So the question is, how do we want to handle this? If there is no exploit task, we shouldn't pass it to the validator because there's nothing to validate. Because here's the situation I'm looking at. Let me come clean up the drawing here. Let's just do this. Solid, black. Let's clear this guy out. Let's just nuke all this off. And then, let's go back over here. All right, so what we're looking at is we have two possibilities, right? So whenever this task goes into the exploit agent, right here, it can have underneath output, or in the output key right here, this is going to be an array, and this is where our exploit task, actually, let me do this. So this is going to be an array of exploit tasks in here. So that's what this is. And so if we don't have one, there's two options, right? This task is going to point to a host, right? Because we also have a target IP. Back that out. Target IP right here. So this target IP is then going to be basically mapped over to a host object in there. I'm more towards leaning towards don't re-exploit a target on a system. However, there is a scenario where, let's say you have a target, right? And it actually has multiple, let's bring this over here. So say we've got a target, and that target could have multiple exploits available on it, right? So maybe it's got an exploit listening on 80, but then it has a completely different system listening on 8080, right? And maybe if we exploit this one, we just get like trip dubs access, right? Whatever service is running as it. Maybe this one is misconfigured though, and if we exploit it, we could get root access. So I'm hesitant to tell it, hey, you can't go retarget this machine if that host already has an initial access exploit. Because yeah, that gives us code execution on the system, but it might not be the best code execution on the system. I think that is the better solution, is telling it, damn it. We'd have to have some kind of a decision-making system in here. I think we can handle that in Stinger eventually. Let me put that as a to-do in Stinger. Real fast. Where is it? Let me put that in the to-dos. So where's Stinger? Let's see. So we need a decision on handling target hosts with multiple exploits. Yeah, I know I misspelled decision. There we go. So for example here, what if the target has multiple exploitable systems, exploits, and we'll say one could give high privileges. Because I've seen that scenario before, where a box has multiple vulnerabilities, and if you exploit one, you get a low priv user, but you exploit a completely different one. A good example, actually, even better than this example, let's say this isn't 80, right? Let's say this was 445. Let's say it was a Windows host that's super old, and it's got like something like Eternal Blue or MS-08067, even really old school. And if we exploit that, we instantly get system level access on the box. Versus if it's running some, janky IAS system where we could get a web shell running as that. That would be another idea here. I think I'm going to leave that up to Stinger. So what we're going to do, let's go back over to the exploit agent. So in the exploit agent, we're going to say it only is going to send to the validator if it doesn't have or if it already has a current working exploit task. So let's double check where we actually send this to the validator, which doesn't happen here. It happens in the validator here. Oh, sorry, not in the validator. Where's our exploit router? Here we go. So the exploit router comes through and says, here's where we're going to send it to exploit validator. Here we're going to check the pre-flight check to it. Actually, we could handle this in the validator. Come to think of it, because what we could let it go ahead and let this logic run. And in the validator here, right, the problem coming up is here. Let me pull this up. The problem is it's trying to parse out this index, right? But the problem is there's no task at all. There's nothing working. There's nothing new. So instead, what we need to do here is check this value. If exploit task index is none, then we could also double check like, hey, do we have any that are in there? And let it just chill out. Yeah, I think this is just checking if the initial access exploit is none. But we could also check this. In this case, it can't even pull out, because actually here's the line. It was 180, right? Yeah, 180. This is where it's failing right here. Yeah. Yep. That's it. Oh, how do I want to do this? Well, we could nest this down in here. Yeah, here's what we'll do. We'll say if the exploit task index is none, then what we need to do is we need to return this right here. And instead of saying no initial access exploit, what we'd say is, or initial access, yeah, this actually should say exploit. I gotta keep the wording clear. This wouldn't be no initial access payload. We would say no exploit task present. Yeah, let's see. We'll say no new. I gotta backspace that. So we'll say no new or working exploit task. I can't type. There we go. Yeah, come back here. There we go. Otherwise, then it can come down to this section right here. Yeah, we'll just do it like that. So if this is none in here, then we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll let it continue on with the rest of the checks. All right, that'll work. All right, rerun. Just how we got. We got plenty of time. Graph recursion limit hit? What the crap? There was no graph recursion limit. Continue. Hate you. Don't tell me you're gonna make... Oh my god. Oh, dude, it just got stuck in a freaking loop. Because I'm an idiot. That's all right. The recursion limit usually is in there to make sure that we're not running. Look at that. Jesus. So the recursion limit's in there to make sure we don't just make endless loops of language model calls. I know what's happening now. I'm not a huge fan of the syntax for Rust either. And some of the strange naming things. Dude, I want to like Rust, but the syntax just hurts my soul, man. So. Sorry, man. I just saw that message. All right, let me see here. So what happened is basically in code, it went through and executed a whole bunch of times. And it's because I'm an idiot. We do want to return a message, but we also need to return our output task right here. So this is actually an issue with the two of these. So take this. Let's go down here. So we're going to return a task key. And then, boom, like that, output task. And then this same thing is going to get copied down to here, now that I think about it. Because we need to do that to update the pre-flight check, to tell it, hey, it's already been checked by the validator. And then down here's where it's actually going to do the rest of the validation check. All right, I got it. I'm absolutely 100% confused. Join the club. I'm making jackets. All right, let's see what is exploit going to do now. Did it end? Did it just straight go to handoff? Oh, that is not good. That should not have finished that fast. Another graph recursion limit? What the French toast? Damn it, the exploit agent was working so well. Now it's broken on line 24. Let me see if I still have the script up. If not, I'll bring it back up. Oh, I must have closed it. Hang on. It's broken on this line? Or is it, do you have a new code share link? It's that line? Let's see. So you're taking in XY text color. Does it say what the error is? Well, I mean, if it's line 24, then you say it would be whatever this background color is. You're invoking this from a couple different places. Color black. I mean, that's a pretty straightforward option in here. I mean, your background is always black, which is, that is wild. Let me see something real quick here. So, actually, hold on. Your invocation is a little bit odd here. Look at this. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 variables you're passing here on line 44 and 45. But you've only defined 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, no, you did define 5 here. So you have 5 defined. Let me look at 44 and 45 again. Let me see. Okay, so there's the XY. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so never mind. I miscounted here. You see it on line 87? Let me see. Nah, you're good, dude. I'm trying to cuss less, but I get it. Oh, yep, that'll do it. Boop. Yep, that good old capitalization will get you. It'll get you, get you, get you. One way or another, it's gonna find you. It's gonna get you, get you, get you. Sorry. All right, let me see what else. What was happening here? So why did it send a handoff here? All right, let me go double check the router. Here it's going to send a handoff if it finds nothing else in here. So this is the exploit router. So it should call exploit suggestions. And for some reason it didn't. So yeah, there's something jacked up here in the agent. I'm just gonna nuke this out right now. So let's walk through this real quick. So okay, so if the input task agent does not equal exploit, or if it's this, then hey, task is not assigned to me, I'm going to pass back to Stinger. Okay. So if the current task is working, it's going to do stuff. Hold on, that's... What messages did we have in here? Let me see. Task not assigned to me, passing to Stinger? What? What's the current... Hold on. Oh, there's the rest of the messages. Yeah. No tasks were marked for execution, passing to Stinger. What the hell? This is task 5. Okay, something's jacked up, because task 5 is absolutely marked to exploit here. No tasks were marked for execution. Let me find this line real quick. Why would I do this to myself? It's because it says this was not set to working. All right, I'm an idiot. There needs to be an if statement in here. Why did I put that in there? Yeah, I'm a dummy. There's nothing to here to say what to do if it's a new task. Jeez. All right, so let's do this. So we'll say if input task. We'll say this, the status equals new. Then we'll do some stuff down here. Let's see. So if it's a new task, what do we need to do here? Oh, what did I do with this? I thought I had this agent all cleaned up, but maybe I busted it up whenever I was doing the memory management, or the state management refactor. So here's our input task. Here's our individual task right here. I'm going to change this real quick. I know this is a small change, but I'm going to do it that way. Let me think about this. So this agent right here, this is the exploit agent. It's working at the task level. It's not working at the exploit task level. Let me think about this. So I need to handle this if we've got a new case, because what's happening is before this was here, right? What it did is it basically went to go say, hey, by the way, is it working? And then if it's not working, then go do all this stuff. So I think there's actually, I think I need to take this out, and we need an elif statement in here before the else. So if this is a new one, we don't have to worry about a pre-flight check or anything else in here. So if this is new, then all we have to do is go basically get the task string out of this. I think that's it. Let me see. Let's think about this. So what we can do is we can do, we'll say task string. I'm going to set it just like this for a second. Is task string defined anywhere? Where does this get defined? Okay, it did get defined right there. Task string task. There we go. I think that's actually it. If it's new, then we're just going to say, hey, by the way, here's the task string. That's it. So, yeah, because then what this will do is this will kick us down to setting up the language model call. We get the task ID. Don't we already have this, though? There's so many redundant variables in here. This is the one with the least care and feeding. Yeah, there's a lot of redundancy in here. Let's clean this up. Where is this? This part right here. Let me collapse this down. Yeah, we're gonna be here. Okay, here's where we're setting up the language model call. We don't need this because we already have this value here. Target IP, this is gonna be, and actually we don't even need that because we could just do input task right here. Target IP, like that. And why am I pulling out the task string again? This is... What was I doing? We already had the task string. Yeah, task string gets set. Jeez, this is terror bad. I may have to just go rewrite this from scratch. And look at this, I'm setting the task string twice? What the hell? What was I smoking when I wrote this? There we go. Yeah, so that sets the task string right there. What happened here? This should not be here. Damn it, I thought I was gonna get this all nice and fixed up right here. Starting new task. That's gonna be an input current task with the task string right there, which we're taking that out of the, okay. All right. Jeez. The spaghetti code comes back to haunt me. Yo. Hackermans, what's up, dude? Happy Sunday. All right, let's double check this. So first thing we're gonna do, it's more likely that this is gonna be, oh no, working. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, so if it's set to working, we go grab the exploit tasks. That's fine. We iterate through them. We check the status. Yeah, dude, I've been good. Yeah, I love this shirt. So Sock got me, she's tired of all my nerd shirts being like 10, 15 years old and having holes in them. So that's what she got me for Christmas. She got me a whole bunch of new nerd shirts that she let me pick out, but they were from her. So yeah, pseudo Highway to Shell. The second, this one's probably my favorite. The second one I think I've got that was one of my other favorites was Chernobyl Reactor Safety Team 1986. That's another one I love. I found a new game I'm addicted to. Which one, Gumby? All right, let's see here. Let's double check this real quick. So we're going to iterate over those exploit tasks. We're in the status. If it's not none and it says exploitable, then we're going to do stuff. We'll go get the target IP. From the target IP, we'll set up our output host object here. And then we're going to append the initial access. So what this is doing here is this is taking the initial access exploit from down here in the exploit task and bring it up to the task. So it's populating it for up the hierarchy. Hey, no problem, Hackerman. Thanks for stopping in, dude. Appreciate you. Raven 2, it's an MMO RPG. Oh, dude, I cannot do MMO. I can't do MMOs anymore. Because they're just such a time sink. They're not as bad as Factorio. But there's definitely like a time commitment that I don't have. Factorio is a game you go play when you don't want to feel the passage of time. That's what that is. Optimization Simulator 2024 or whenever. I don't know. The game's been out longer than that. I think it came out in 2019. Let's see here. I think this is all good. So it goes through there, it checks the status. If it's not none, and okay, so this is double checking. Do we already have an exploitable status set for one of the exploit tasks? Does an exploit task exist that is exploitable? There we go. So if we don't have that, then what we're going to do is we break out the task string. And we say, hey, we're going to be reworking that. We set up our output task. We do a deep copy from the input task, which is memory reference to the state table. And then we set the status to working. Okay. We also are going to check if we have a pre-flight check. So if there's no pre-flight check, I think I should take this out. This should just go away. There is no chance. I want to say that, but when you're dealing with agentic systems, oh, it can get crazy because this check in here basically says, hey, does the target IP have a host entry? And in fact, it may not, because that same example I was talking about, let's say, for example, we exploit this system here, and then we find something that points us to a different target. So let's say this is target 1, and now we've got target 2 over here, right? This could say, hey, by the way, we're going to go exploit this guy. I don't know what I was writing there. We're going to exploit that target 2. Target 2 could be a completely new target. So something discovered on target 1. Okay. Yeah. Something could be discovered during the pivoting process that says, hey, by the way, we can pivot to this host because we found some credentials or we dumped a Kerberos key or something, right? So yeah, we do want to have this in here. So this will go through and add us a blank one. I'm going to take this out here. State current task. Nope, we're going to do input current task. Like this. We already got the task string. This is going to change. This is going to be input task. Right here. We're going to modify that one particular task. Okay. So yeah, so then we're going to generate a blank one and we're going to add it to the table. So now we've got our output host. We set the output task pre-flight check to true. Because if we haven't seen this, there's nothing to go pre-flight. There's no way to do it. Task string. Why are we setting the task string again? What the hell was I doing? Okay. We've already set the task string before we even hit this branch. Let me double check this. This says right here, if the target IP is in the host, then yeah, we're gonna do this. Else, we're gonna make a new target host. We're gonna have that. We're gonna add that to the output host field, and then now we're gonna have output task pre-flight check. True. Okay. This one, Raven 2 does everything auto, so you can run it and let it level for you and do work as it runs. Okay, so where's the fun in having the game run on autopilot? I'm so lost here, Gubby. I'll have to go look at that game. Alright, leave line break this. Alright, so now that should handle everything if we have a current working task. Let me look at this branch right here. So this branch triggers if we don't have a pre-flight check, right? And yeah, so we can set the pre-flight check on the task to true because it's technically, I think, not possible. Let me think about this. It's not possible if we have no host to have an initial access exploit for it. Yeah, I think that will be fine right here. So then, okay, so that breaks out of this branch here. This is if we have a new one. We define our task string. This is the else saying, hey, no tasks were marked for execution. We're going to pass back to Stinger. I don't think I even need this else right here. Come to think of it. Oh, so you're just going to set it to auto whenever you actually have to work, but then turn it off auto whenever you're playing. I don't know, that still sounds kind of funny. So, the first MMO I ever played was Star Wars Galaxies, and it was an absolute pile of stinking dog turd, and I loved it. It was my first foray into MMOs, and it was so bad. But it wasn't the Star Wars Galaxy. I do really like Star Wars, and there was a lot of stuff to do in it. So I do remember, like, you had the ability to make macros, and so I would go, like, I could make a macro in the game, right? This wasn't something like I was doing with a clicker or like an auto hotkey or anything. It was actually in the game. And what it would do is I would sit like on a spawn point for these like low-level creatures, and it would just sit there. And when it found them, you could do it in the macro, tell it target the nearest enemy, and then just go attack it. And so he'd be sitting in this spawn point, just running circles, attacking all these different mobs, and just kind of auto leveling for me. I can see the benefit to both sides of it, because like I said, if you're like me and you don't have a huge amount of time to go commit to an MMO, at least you could go level your character up, but still go play the story for it, especially if it's an MMO RPG, like you're talking about. At the same time, it just feels like it defeats the purpose of a game. It's one of those things, like, I can definitely see where they're going with it and why they made that decision. Still feels weird. Let me look at this real quick. What is this error toss now? Local variable output task might be referenced before assignment. Yeah, and that's fine. So here's where we actually set up the language model call. So we double check to make sure the task string isn't blank. We set up our various context helpers here. We call the language model meow. And we only give it one tool, which is exploit suggestions in here. Okay, yeah, exploit suggestions actually does return. Oh, this is terrible bad. Because this is not going to return an exploit suggestions here. Let me go to the definition for that. This is the output for this, right? Exploitation methods that could potentially be used to target for remote execution. This is actually supposed to go... These are actually supposed to be exploit tests. I'm going to refactor that one. Let me just do this. We'll just do it by hand. This is supposed to be, in fact, we'll just call it exploit tasks right here. I think that's it right there. That's all we want. Yep, and then where does output task get defined? It gets defined as a deep copy of the input task right there. Okay. I have a bad feeling I'm going to have to go rewrite the exploit agent from scratch because it survived several iterations and it's carrying over just a bunch of crappy logic. I want to go see if this will work though. So now we have a new case to handle whenever it's set to a new parameter. Oh, I need to go put more time on the box. Did you log me out? Damn it. Oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
I muted myself while I was typing something in anger. Unfortunately, the box died. Damn it. So the system died. That sucks. So we won't get to test it tonight. I could go spin it back up, but we're pretty much at the end of the stream anyway. So I was just venting while I was on mute there about how annoying this exploit agent has been. I'm afraid I'm going to have to just go to this exploit agent node and rewrite it from scratch. Yeah. I think that's probably what I'm going to have to do. Yep. Oh, well. Damn it. All right, guys. That's where I got to wrap it up for tonight. Let's go find somebody to raid over to on the Twitchy side. Let's see. Actually, hold on. Before we do that, I keep forgetting proper decorum here, which is, let's go check InfoSec streams. And true to form, usually we are the only ones up this late at night. So let's go see who's on. Who's doing anything fun here? See who we got here. I think that's AppLink. What's up, man? Thanks for coming online. AP1.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby. Push it real good.
Yep, I'm pushing it. All right. Let's see. Yes, all those need to get pushed. All right. Push that up. Okay, code's up on GitHub now. Let's go see who's on right now. So let's see who do we have that's got on right now. Mostly DJs. Actually, Science is on. Science is always good for a raid. I hate these glasses. I got new glasses, and the chromatic aberration on them is real bad, so I always feel like I'm having to look down my nose to see anything. Let's see. Maybe we'll go right over to Zed, because he's doing some more Go engine development. Or, yeah, looking at engines in Go. Yeah, let's see about raiding over to him. Alright, guys, let me kick that off. Unfortunately, that is where I've got to wrap it up for tonight. Where's the button? There it is. Whoop. Thanks for coming to hang out, guys. Geez, the freaking exploit agent. Still the bane of my existence. But once we get that done, we can finally move on to PostX. But I do need to go through and formalize how this guy is going to work and what it's going to do. That's all right. We'll get it sorted out. And then we can actually see it run and double check and make sure it's exploiting properly. So everyone, y'all have a fantastic week. Tomorrow is Monday, or it is already Monday, depending on your time zone. So you should be in Crushing It mode or preparing to enter Crushing It mode. We do not go weekly into the week. No, we go strongly into the week. And I want everybody to have a fantastic week. Get out there, crush it. And remember one very important thing, which is I love you. Peace.